Well, we can talk now to Joerg Forbrig. He's the Director for Central and Eastern Europe at the German Marshall Fund. He joins us from Berlin. Thanks very much for your time today on France 24. I want to ask you a bit about the German perspective on this crisis, if I can, because really, since the Second World War, Germany is a country that's prided itself on trying to find diplomatic solutions with Moscow. Today, are there any diplomatic options left for Germany?
I don't think so. I think Berlin, no less than Paris and other capitals in Europe, are scrambling to find a response. Berlin is probably in a particularly difficult position because, as you said, for a very long time it's been trying to build a constructive relationship with Russia, and today and the last couple of days, indeed, have been a very hard awakening for the German public and political class, because literally everything that Germany has tried over the last decades in relation to Russia has failed, as we see now. And that makes it very hard to define a German response. At this stage, the discussions are on. There seems to be a very, very strong unity sort of coming together behind a very strongest possible response that virtually leaves nothing out of the toolbox. So we will have to see, but yeah, Germany is struggling.
Well, as you said, strong measures, sanctions are expected from the EU, including Germany, of course. But I want to ask you about gas and about the Nord Stream pipelines, because Germany has put Nord Stream 2 on ice. But what about Nord Stream 1? Because work on that began just a year after Russia annexed Crimea. Didn't that send a message to Putin at the time that Germany needs Russian gas, and therefore, while this may be a really rather rocky couple of months, ultimately it will be business as usual between Berlin and Moscow?
No, I don't think it will be business as usual. First, the Nord Stream 2 pipeline has been halted already, and I think it is inconceivable in the circumstances that it will become operational anytime soon. But more importantly, Germany is indeed very dependent on Russian gas, as are other European countries, and we will need to reconsider the strong dependency on Russian oil in particular, but also on other energy commodities such as oil and coal. I think the move to halt Nord Stream 2 was very important, but it was still highly symbolic, because this is a pipeline that's not operational yet. This is not a pipeline that at the moment is part of our energy dependency on Russia. We will rather have to go beyond this pipeline project and look at the dependencies that exist and that we cannot also fix in the short run. There is a threat that Russia will turn off the gas supplies to Europe. We will have to handle that situation. But more importantly, in the midterm, we have to find ways of weaning ourselves off that strong dependency on Russia, because one, it gives Russia leverage over us and our decision making, and two, it fills the coffers of the Kremlin. And these are revenues, sizable revenues that Russia receives from Europe that are being put to use in waging wars against Ukraine, as we see at the moment.
What about my direct question, though, about Nord Stream 1? Might it be time for Germany to put a pause on that? It would send quite the message, wouldn't it?
In my opinion, this would be an important move. At least it should be put on the table. This is obviously also a test then to Germany, whether Germany would be willing to bear some more substantial costs to its economy in the short run in order to send a strong signal to Moscow. For the time being, I haven't seen that question being put on the table so openly as we discuss it here. But there are signals from the economy ministry, especially from the Green Minister Habeck, that Germany needs to reduce its energy dependency on Russia. And this discussion will eventually also involve Nord Stream 1.
Let's talk about sanctions if we can, because I wonder whether you think they will act as a meaningful deterrent. I mean, the EU saying these will be the harshest sanctions yet against Moscow. But it sounds like Putin has priced the idea of sanctions into his calculations already. Perhaps they won't make that much of a big difference. Should we instead be talking about military assistance for Ukraine? Obviously, it is a non-NATO member state.
Well, first of all, sanctions cannot be a deterrent anymore because Russia launched a war against Ukraine today, and in fact has been running one for the last 8 years. So we're not deterring Russia anymore. But what we can do is obviously we can change the calculus and also the cost-benefit ratio for Russia in the midterm, at least. Anything that we decide today in the way of sanctions will not immediately impact the operations that Russia has rolled out against Ukraine, but it will make it expensive in the long run. It will isolate Russia politically. It will incur a very strong cost that eventually will also be felt not only by the Russian economy, by Russian society at large. So in that sense, it is important to continue on the sanctions path, but we should not live in the illusion that this can alter the immediate course of events in Ukraine today. For your second question, which I think is very important, is yes, I do think that we all have the responsibility now, more than we already had before all these events started, to help Ukraine defend itself. And this is obviously a discussion that will also zoom in specifically on Germany, which has been steadfastly opposing providing any meaningful military equipment to Ukraine. So we will have to put this discussion on the table again, also here in Berlin. And as a country, but also as a European community and as a North Atlantic alliance, I think we have to do the utmost to strengthen the capabilities of self-defense of Ukraine. And the third aspect
Joerg Forbrig, I'm sorry to cut you off there. We're going to have to actually go live now to Ukraine. Our correspondent there is standing by, but thank you very much indeed for your time and your analysis on the programme.